Ravens HC John Harbaugh won't bite on the Shedeur Sanders conversation. John Harbaugh dodges discussions about the Ravens' possible interest in Shedeur. You have to love this era of football, don't you? What did we ever do before we had access to all of this information? We were given a game on Sunday, and that was it. You had to wait 7 days before the Baltimore Ravens were scheduled to play versus another opponent on game day. Now, we have podcasts, social media, and all of this inside access to what's being done Monday through Saturday. Some of the best stories have nothing to do with the game being played. Take that recent dig on the Ravens' rumored interest in Shedeur Sanders. Who didn't have something to say about that when the story hit the airwaves? John Harbaugh isn't sharing any info about the Ravens' recent draft and their rumored interest in Shedeur Sanders. This past Sunday brought the first win of the Ravens' regular season and, if you missed it, a very fascinating story. Conversations began about last April's draft, the two-time defending AFC North champs, and their Week 2 opponent, the Cleveland Browns. We've learned that Baltimore had interest in selecting one of the draft's polarizing prospects, Shedeur Sanders. He reportedly declined, and Sanders landed with the Browns. As you might expect, the media asked Ravens head coach John Harbaugh for his input. We can all guess how that turned out. Coach Harbaugh declined to offer a response. Admission? Denial? Who knows? Everyone understands where Coach Harbaugh is coming from, though. Some things must be private, even if this is an age of information and dissection. If true, it's understandable why Sanders would make such a statement. Some rated him as the most recent draft's second-best quarterback. Why wouldn't that guy want an opportunity to start? That certainly wouldn't happen for him in Baltimore while playing behind Lamar Jackson. Currently, he sits behind Joe Flacco and Dylan Gabriel on the Browns' quarterback depth chart, so it will be a while before he plays there, too. Still, one thing is sure. His chances of playing there are higher than they would ever be in Baltimore. The Baltimore Ravens are no strangers to quarterback debates. For years, they've lived in the media firestorm that surrounds Lamar Jackson, his style of play, his contract negotiations, and whether he can lead the team to another Super Bowl. But now, a new conversation has started bubbling beneath the surface, one involving a quarterback who isn't even on their roster. Shedeur Sanders, the rookie signal caller currently making headlines in Cleveland. And if John Harbaugh has his way, that conversation is going to stay buried. The question that sparked it. It began during a routine press conference. A reporter, fishing for a soundbite, asked Harbaugh about reports that Shedeur Sanders had discouraged the Ravens from drafting him. The question was loaded. Was Baltimore really in the running? Did the Ravens' leadership feel slighted? Could they imagine what it would be like if Sanders, son of NFL Hall of Famer Deion Sanders, were wearing purple and black instead of brown and orange? Harbaugh paused, adjusted his cap, and gave the kind of measured look that comes from decades of dealing with media storms. He smiled, but not the kind of smile that invites follow-ups. "We're focused on the guys we have here," Harbaugh said. "I'm proud of our quarterback room. Lamar's our guy. That's where my mind is. Everything else is just outside noise." And with that, the Ravens head coach moved on. Why Harbaugh won't engage? Harbaugh isn't a man who plays into hypotheticals. His coaching style has always been about controlling controllables. He knows that the second he even utters Shedeur Sanders' name in a speculative context, the headlines will write themselves. Harbaugh admits interest in Sanders. Or worse, Ravens mischance at future star. The Ravens culture doesn't thrive on what-ifs. It thrives on loyalty, discipline, and building around the players already in the locker room. Harbaugh knows Sanders is talented, but he also knows that indulging in this conversation does nothing for the team's focus. Behind closed doors, though, it's impossible to deny the whispers. Some Ravens scouts reportedly admired Sanders during the draft process. His poise at Colorado, his NFL-ready mechanics, and his charisma all made him a tantalizing prospect. The only problem: Baltimore already had Lamar Jackson, a two-time MVP, signed to a historic contract. So why stir the pot? Why let Sanders become a ghost lingering over the franchise? The media storm around Shedeur. Sanders has become the league's most talked-about rookie before even taking a full season's worth of snaps. His decision to guide himself toward Cleveland instead of Baltimore was spun as bold, even brash. It signaled a new era of player empowerment, a continuation of what his father, Prime Time, always embodied, controlling the narrative. Cleveland fans are ecstatic. National outlets can't get enough. And in Baltimore, there's a tinge of what might have been. What if Sanders had been willing to learn behind Lamar? What if he had eventually stepped in as the next Ravens franchise QB, years down the line? But again, Harbaugh won't bite. He won't add fuel to a story that distracts from his team's goals. A lesson in leadership. Harbaugh's handling of the Sanders conversation is more than media strategy. It's a masterclass in leadership. He knows how quickly a locker room can fracture when rumors of the next guy start to overshadow the current leader. Lamar Jackson has already endured enough questions about his durability, his playoff record, and his unconventional style. The last thing he needs is to hear his own coach publicly speculate about a rookie in another city. By shutting down the conversation, Harbaugh sent a message to his team: Lamar is our quarterback. No debate. No distractions. It's a subtle but powerful move that reinforces the Ravens' identity. Harbaugh has always prioritized culture over headlines. His refusal to bite on Sanders is another example of that philosophy in action. The what-if factor. Of course, the fans can't help themselves. Every time Shedeur Sanders makes a highlight throw for Cleveland, Ravens fans ask, what if? Every time Sanders appears on ESPN with his father in the stands, they wonder if the Ravens missed a branding opportunity as well as a football one. The thought of Sanders in purple, learning from Lamar, then carrying the torch for the next decade, is tantalizing. The Ravens front office surely thought about it, even if only briefly. But Harbaugh knows that history can't be rewritten. The draft is over. The rosters are set. Dwelling on Sanders only weakens their current pursuit of another Lombardi trophy. Prime-time shadow. Adding to the intrigue is the presence of Deion Sanders, Shedeur's father and one of the most polarizing figures in sports. If Shedeur had landed in Baltimore, Coach Prime would have become a regular fixture at Ravens games, potentially overshadowing Harbaugh's steady, no-nonsense demeanor. Harbaugh has built the Ravens on grit, toughness, and quiet confidence. The Sanders brand, by contrast, thrives on flash, style, and spotlight. Perhaps, in some ways, Harbaugh is relieved that the Ravens didn't have to balance those worlds colliding. The long game. In the NFL, conversations like this have a way of circling back years later. Maybe Sanders thrives in Cleveland, turning them into perennial contenders, and the Ravens are forced to face him in AFC playoff battles.